guilt and shame, the two horrific feelings and emotions. Hi, welcome back to Still Addicted. I'm Isra, and if you want to see more, please hit subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you. So, this episode, I'm going to be talking about how I deal with guilt and shame, the two horrific feelings and emotions. Guilt and shame. Oh, I hate them. Let's be fucking honest. Guilt and shame really did fully nearly take me out. Those are the two things that could have killed me. But it is what it is, because that's the thing. It's guilt and shame. It's not really the substances. It was never really the substances. Obviously, the substances, because the amount of cocktails that I was having, I don't know how I'm alive, but it's fine. But what drove me to do that stuff was the guilt and shame. So that's what I mean about how those are the two things that definitely nearly took me out. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's really not funny. I think the difference between guilt and shame is something that a lot of people don't really understand. Well, I think people, I don't know, I can't say that. I know a lot of people do understand. It's just, sorry, God, I need to stop smoking, but it is what it is. It's my only vice, okay? So leave it out. So the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is I did something wrong. Shame is the fact that there is feeling that there's something wrong with me. So guilt is, for me, my experience, guilt was coming from a place where I know I was hurting my family loads. I was hurting my mum, especially. I hurt her so much in my using days. I hurt my friends leaving friendships for drugs and just doing just shitty things. I did a lot of shitty things in my using. So that's my pretty much, I don't really want to go into a lot of the stuff that I did, but it was pretty shitty. And then shame for me of feeling that there was something wrong with me. And I can't think of an early memory of when I did not feel that shame. Because I felt so different. I'd come from a mixed background. I was around a lot of white Caucasian people. I'd come from a divorced parents, broken home. Like a lot of my friends did not. So that difference was there. And then another big part of me that made me feel that shame has finally left me a bit. Still there because I can't be fully myself with a certain person, but I think that shame will sadly be there until that situation sorts itself out. So I think that's the difference between guilt and shame for me anyway. I think the guilt and shame feelings, I think these are the biggest things that make people relapse, or make, especially for me, they make me feel like I want to relapse, because these feelings, they really create self-hate. They make me feel quite hopeless. They push me into isolation, and they convince me that I'm just abnormal, which makes me want to run. So in my previous episode, I talked about running away from those feelings, escaping from those feelings, and yeah, that guilt and shame is the two things that I really struggle with the most, and I think a lot of addicts struggle with the most. So guilt and shame, these feelings, they feel like they're the two emotions that just really don't want you to be sober. They will do when they've creeped in and when they're on you. It's, if you're going through guilt and shame and you're still using, it's so hard to get out of that cycle, because those are the two emotions that I just do not believe that they want you to get sober. It makes you feel like it keeps you in that self-obsession, so we call it in a fellowship that I'm in, the self-obsession triangle. Is it self? Yeah, self-obsession triangle. I think it is that. I'll have to look that up. But it just keeps you in that self. You are constantly thinking about oneself, that you feel really shitty about yourself. You're feeling shitty about what you've done. You're feeling shitty about who you are as a person, all of these things. And obviously, that's all very self obsessed, but those are the things that stop you from looking out and asking for help. So, what I've done now, how I deal with it now, because I was just saying before, I'm still going through a process of trying to eradicate shame over a certain topic, but I can't really 100% get away from it without doing certain things, which will then obviously hurt people, etc., which will then could feed into the guilt. So it's very complicated, but how I try to work through it is using the steps. So step one, what I used that over 2 years ago now, where I admitted a part of me to my mum and my brother and my sister, and that relieved a lot of shame from me because of the love and the warmth and the acceptance that I got from my mum and my brother and my sister. It was just beautiful. So I know that when I think about how they were with me, I know that I can tell myself I'm not a bad person, I'm not abnormal, I'm not wrong or anything like that. So I can tell myself these things. Step two was obviously to have faith for me into a higher power. And I did a lot of research around the topic with my religion and faith and stuff like that, and found so much about how our God, Allah, whatever, is all about all loving. So again, it just reiterated the fact that I am loved, me as a person is loved. So do you know what I mean? So I can't really ignore that when it says it in the holy books as well. Do you know what I mean? Step four, it was just a case of obviously trusting in that higher power, and I trust in that higher power, and I continuously tell myself every day that who I am and who Isra isn't a bad person, and I'm slowly chipping away at that shame and guilt. So it is a work in progress. So I do try and do everything that I can to get through it. But I think how I can let you understand it is that guilt is something that you feel when you feel like you've done something wrong, and shame is a feeling that you have because you feel like you as a person are not normal or abnormal. So if you are feeling those things, what I would advise anybody is to, if it was that you did something wrong, work the steps when it comes to your looking at your part. So your step four, look at your part where you did wrong and see what you could have done differently. And then the shame part is the five, and this step six and seven is where you can look at your assets and say, look, I did this, but this is not me as a person. What I'm going to do is moving forward, I'm going to work into those assets and make sure I'm more loving or more caring or more understanding or more empathetic or whatever it may be. That's the opposite of what you did. So you can get rid of that shame, but also rid of the guilt because you're not going to be doing it again. And then your step eight and nine is obviously saying, apologizing for what you've done, making those amends. So if you did hurt somebody, that's made you feel guilty, or if you did something wrong, if you stole, or if you manipulated somebody, or whatever it may be, you make those amends, and then again you're rectifying that mistake. So hopefully, therefore, your guilt should go, and then moving forward, you continuously work into your assets and work into doing the right thing, and therefore your shame will then start to go. So hope that helps as well. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks.